Hey everybody, so my name is Julie and I just wanted to share with you my testimony about going from the New Age to Jesus Christ, Christianity. And just started when I was raised Catholic. So yeah, I went to church when I was little, and I did start questioning, like in church, like reciting all the prayers. I was baptized, confirmed, and all of that. And I just started asking myself, like, is what I'm saying, do I believe in it? Like, is this something I really believe? Because people just repeat, the prayers and everything. So I was like, started to like, wait, what does this mean? Do I believe in it? And then one of the priests who actually did my confirmation and I felt really a strong connection with, he got charged with molesting one of the altar boys. And honestly, that just like broke my heart. I was probably in 8th grade, 9th grade, yeah, 8th grade at the time. And so that kind of took me away from church, so to speak. And ever since then, I started on like a new journey. I do remember, for some reason, I don't know why I did this, but I went and bought my first set of tarot cards when I was in high school. And I remember doing them with a friend, just playing around at school with tarot cards. I don't know how the heck, why I did that. Anyway, so that was like the start. And, and I partied in, college, high school. I drank, smoked cigarettes, smoked weed. Never did anything, much harder than that, too serious. I stayed away from that stuff. So I just had like, I guess a pretty common, normal college experience away at college. And I studied yoga. And I mean, I'm very curious, I'm very open-minded. I just wanted to learn. I wanted to learn all kinds of things. And when I first heard the concept of reincarnation, I was like, yeah, like it just automatically kind of felt true to me. I was like, yeah, no doubt about it, it's real. And I studied yoga in college, and then I started going to yoga classes. Oh yeah, and then my mom died when I was 26, I think. So I was just in college. So that was really rough for me. I struggled. I was really depressed. I was very promiscuous. At that point, I was really at a low point. I was really at a low point at that time. And, if you're not aware already, like there is an enemy out there. We have an enemy, and he tends to get you at your low point. Honestly, hit you when you're at your lowest point. But anyways, so after she died, and I finally got myself out of this depression and things. Like I said, I was looking into sex and looking for sex to kind of make me feel good, make me feel better. And I just started looking for new ways to like help. And I started eating really healthy, started getting, changing my diet. And a roommate at the time found out about this health intuitive. So I think that was one of the first intuitives I went to. And she had told me some things like I had like candida throughout my body, and told me what to do to clear that up, things like that. And let's see, and then I had a sister who, or I have a sister. My sister, she was like, oh, I go to this woman, for Reiki, like go check it out. And so the first time I went, I had a Reiki. It was really interesting. I felt the energy, like I felt it really strongly. And then I did like a half Reiki session, half tarot reading, and she told me, she made it sound like, oh, you don't know this? Like, you should know this by now. Like, she kind of in a way like planted a seed that later I was like, oh, I should know this. I'm this wise evolved soul, ancient soul or whatever. But that was kind of a seed for that. But yeah, so I mean, I did a lot. Like, I signed up to get to know my spirit guides, and I would start reading and then I would go on to something else. So I never actually finished that course, and thankfully I never like really tuned into those spirit guides. And even at that point, I didn't really have a desire to contact my mom. I thought, I would just go straight to God, or why mess with, other people and dead ancestors and stuff. Like, let me just go straight to God. So I wasn't interested in, getting messages from those things. But yeah, I did go to a religious psychic, and she was my first one, and she was the one that kind of planted seeds and said, you'll notice signs from spirit, you'll see coins, you'll see feathers, you'll see signs, and at this time, like, I started getting into like earth angels, and I was reading Doreen Virtue's Assertiveness for Earth Angels, because I was like, wow, I really fit the bill of all these characteristics, And I had gotten into astrology as well. I was reading horoscopes. I did stop reading my daily horoscope because I did feel like it did change the way my day went. Like, if I read I was going to have a bad day, like, then I would have a bad day. So I was like, no, like, I detached from that later. I was like, no, I'm not going to let this influence or manipulate my mood or my day. But yeah, I've always been very like sensitive, like emotionally. So yeah, and just again, just very open, like too open, like way open to, oh, okay, let me try this, let me check this out, And I was listening to angel meditations, and I signed up and completed this channeling course. I got certification in being an angel intuitive. And I think it was my golden birthday, like when I turned 28, I got a massage on my birthday, and it was like an Indian type massage where they pour oil over you. And I remember the guy telling me, oh, you're an earth angel, right? And I thought, oh, wow, this is like, I'm special. Basically, like, I was like, oh, I'm special. And that had, was like a dig into my childhood wound of, maybe not feeling like I was important or being seen or being heard or like I mattered. And so this new idea that, I was this like angel incarnated, on earth. And I always had pure intentions, a pure heart, and I did want to help people. And so, yeah, so then I started getting into that, and yeah, and then through a yoga class I was going to, I met somebody who was teaching Reiki. So I thought, yeah, let me try, but I just wanted to try to give it to myself. So this whole time I'm just looking for answers, looking for healing, looking for love, and wisdom, and but I didn't know I was looking for it in all the wrong places. And it's something, if you're not aware of now, maybe this video will help open your eyes that all of these things are self-help, focusing on yourself, are all leading you astray from God. They're all different, so many different avenues to take you further and further away from God. And let's see. So yeah, I went to a yoga class, met somebody who taught Reiki. So I was like, okay, let me get Reiki certified. And so I got level 1, level 2, advanced ART, and I got my master teacher. And I was just primarily doing it for myself, thank goodness. And there was a Kundalini yoga place that I would go, and I would offer Reiki for donations only. And to this day, like, yeah, I've only given it to a couple people, clients who actually paid, thank goodness. So I'm really glad about that I didn't go really far into that. And I did actually teach Reiki once. But yeah, it's interesting. I'll get to that in a little bit. But yeah, so I started doing Reiki, and then I think after that, I started getting into past life regressions. I had gone to, like I said, it was like, yeah, I was delving into everything I could, just seeking for the truth, seeking for answers, like, who am I? You know, who's God? Like, all these things, you know, pure intention, and into going into all these things. And I went to one lady's house one time where we put our knees together, and we just were visualizing past lifetimes for the person whose knees we were touching. And now, yeah, and that got me interested into past lives. And I was convinced that I was like Alexander the Great in a past lifetime. So I was getting into past life regressions and things like that. And I went to a yoga conference, and then I went to like another yoga festival that was more like based in Bhakti and like Hindu. And then I started getting into like chanting, and learning about the different Hindu gods or deities, gods. And that's when I met somebody. So I'll just share. So the first year that I went to the festival, I was running late, and the yoga class was like packed. And I walked in, maybe like 5-10 minutes late, I don't know. And I was gonna sit in back, and this woman up front, she's like, "Oh no, come over here," and like had a spot for me, like conveniently right in front. And when I, sat down, this guy next to me handed me his towel, and at that moment, I noticed there was this like instant physical attraction between us. And then after the yoga class, we chatted, we talked. And then I think it was later, it was like a 3-day fest. So I think it was later that night or the night before or the day after, I went to this DJ, and sorry, the light went out. Oh man. I went to this DJ, and there he was, and so we were dancing, and then we just connected. We started talking, and it was crazy. I was just telling him like about how my mom had died, and she had cancer, and then I think he said his mom died and had cancer, and it was just like really strange. Like we were just like blah, 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 and it was like we were just this conversation happening. And then like after like we talked that night, it was like, interesting synchronicities would happen where, I would have a thought about him, or all of a sudden think of him. I'd look up, and like there he was, like walking toward me. And so, but, he Facebook friended me, and like I saw like, and he was married, and I was like, okay, obviously, he's not my guy. And I thought maybe, well, I didn't really know what it was at that point. I just was like, okay, this is interesting. It felt like we had like some kind of unique connection. I didn't know what the purpose or what it was, but it seemed like there was just a special connection there. And then I would go to that festival every year, and like it never failed. Each time I would go, like the next time or maybe another time, like, at yoga sometimes, well, maybe you don't know, but the teacher will call everyone up from their mats and like they'll have like a lecture or something. And then, so I came in late again, and I just went, set up my mat somewhere, and then went up to the front of the class. And then when he or she was done talking, they're like, okay, go back to your mats. We went back to our mat, and I had set up my mat right next to his. So it was like weird synchronicities like that just like had me thinking. And then another time, another festival, I was just like standing outside, and all of a sudden he pulls up and like parks right in front of me. And like, yeah, so it was like this like magnetism, like this something kind of like bringing us together sort of thing. And so I remember the first time when I was leaving that festival, and I was just talking to my friend, I'm like, I don't know, there's something is weird about that. Like, I was trying to figure it out. Like, I'm very analytical, so I was like trying to figure out like, what the heck, like there's this weird thing, connection between us. I was trying to figure out. So I'm sure that led me into the kind of twin flame, and up until this point, I definitely believed in like soulmates and things like that. But then I got turned on to the idea of twin flames, and I don't remember how exactly. I think I was just researching it, and of course at the time I was probably seeing 1111 and other things. So yeah, I started following this one particular twin flame blog, and I won't say the name, but it has 1111 in it, and and I was reading weekly forecasts every week, and it was based on astrology, and there were lots of offerings, meditations you could do, so I did purchase an inner child one where you go through a visualization, you do inner child healing work, and then you visualize your twin and their whatever younger self, inner child, and do healing for them as well. And the premise was always usually one of you are more awake than the other one, and one of you will recognize the connection, maybe not the other one. And it's all when you're clear, when you're in alignment, when your vibration is high, when you have purged all your hurts and wounds from the past and past lifetimes, only then can you then come into unity, and it will be successful. And I was reading testimonies about how blissful it is, and more so, I believed that it was a mission from God that I am to get together with my twin, my counterpart, which one is mainly divine masculine, one is divine feminine, and come into union, because the idea is what two came from a soul that split into two, right? And so we're coming into union. And that something like what I believed is like us making love or having unconditional love will spread love around the planet and will protect the planet, and just the vibration of us being together will uplift. Yeah, it's all BS though, I'm telling you, like it's all BS, don't fall for it. And but I mean, I believe, and I had it in my mind that this person who I barely knew, okay, I talked to him maybe in person 4 or 5 times, barely knew him, didn't know him, and he was married. I was convinced that it was God's will for us to come together, and for a purpose, to help save the planet. Okay. So, oh man. Yeah, it's like the devil wants us to become superheroes, wants to think we are superheroes to save the world. Well, guess what? We don't have that power. There's only one person that has that power, and that is God. and that is Jesus Christ and the Holy Spirit. And all of these things are distractions. And I'll just share, I mean, I used to do energy clearing. I started channeling Christ consciousness. And I would feel better. I would clear my chakras. I would clear my energy. I do these angel meditations, and I would feel better. But the thing is, it was just always, it was so much work, number one. Like, and I'm not one of those who are like, oh, love and light, all rainbows. No, I really believed I needed to heal all my wounds. I needed to face all my traumas. I needed to, perfect myself, basically. And I was striving. I kept working towards like healing this, and then helping other people. So I was doing my work, doing my inner work, and I would feel better, even though I cried a lot, really hard, many a times. So that's one of the disguises, I think, is that Satan is the god of death, and he really is seeking to destroy us. So, yeah, I realize now that a lot of these past lives I believe now, were demons putting these images into me, kind of like a hook, so then they can manipulate my emotions. Like, so for instance, I never was afraid of driving over bridges or anything until I had this like download or this insight come in saying, that I had a past life where I was 26 and I played guitar and I just drove off of a cliff. Well, now that I had that that visualization or whatever, that like knowing, now that's a vulnerability that was input in me, like implanted in me. And so now, or I don't know, I haven't done it recent, but when I drive under a bridge I start getting like panic attacks. So, but that never happened to me when I first got my license. Like, I'd driven over the same bridge tons of times, and then all of a sudden it just started affecting me. So, yeah, things like this. But then, so I started doing the energy clearing, and I really was convinced that I was tapped into this hidden knowledge, this hidden occult knowledge that I wanted to share. It was changing my life for the better, and I wanted to share it with everybody. And like, I was like, so it started creating this like distance between me and normal people. I started to think I was into something. I was even reading about ascended masters, and I thought I was one of the ascended masters come reincarnate. Please, God forbid me, I thought Jesus was like my brother, like I was on equal statute of Jesus Christ. Forgive me that I'm saying that. And yeah, and like I thought all the power, God power, is within me. Well, I'll tell you what, and what I'm realizing is like, no, God is the only creator. God can all of a sudden point creative tree and create new things. We are not the creator. We are not, no matter how you cut it. We are the sons and daughters of God, and we do have gifts, I think. I don't know, I'm learning more about this. I was just saved like 2 days ago. So I'm still like, I'm new on the Christian journey. So that's why I don't want to, say anything. I won't quote from the Bible or anything, but I wanted to add though too was so I've had past life regressions of myself. Like I, have done it myself. And then later I did get trained and I was doing past life regressions. And then I almost got certified in quantum healing, and was gonna start doing that for a living. And, there were like, it was interesting because there were a couple past lives that I got downloaded where, one was like I had cheated in a past life with somebody, like I was an adulteress. And so that kind of planted the seed that like I have that evil, or I have that, I don't want to call it, well, it is forbidden. It's one of the commandments, obviously. But like I had a natural tendency towards that. You know what I mean? When in my heart, like before that, I knew the most hurtful thing would be like a man cheating on me. So no way would I ever do that to someone else. And yeah, and then even in a dream, like I had a dream where my boyfriend at the time, he like fell in love with another girl and like ignored me, and it just like dug this deep wound in my heart, and I cried so hard for like 24 hours. I just shed tears and like heartbreak, and all because of a dream. So I was really easily manipulated emotionally. And I guess that's what I'm just getting at. I think a lot of these things, like, I think Satan or Lucifer wants New Age people to be in this perpetual hamster wheel of constantly doing yoga, being addicted to yoga, being, doing all these tools and techniques, right, to feel better, and putting the blame on themselves, or like something is wrong with me. I need to like go in and fix me. And you're looking for healing and love and all these answers, but from all the wrong places. When the only true place you need to go to is God and Jesus Christ. And yeah, so it got really crazy. I mean, there was a lot of spiritual warfare that was happening to me. So sorry, I had to switch batteries. So I want to get back on track to the whole twin flame journey. So I was going to the Mind Body Spirit Expo, everything. I like was buying crystals. I spent so much money, you guys, like so much money. If you're in the New Age, like spend money on training, you spend money on this. So I was buying all these, unique crystals from the Mind Body Spirit Expo. I had so many of them. I felt like they gave me comfort, and they, helped soothe my emotions. And there was one meditation I went to with some woman who worked with John of God, which now I know John of God is like, I don't know, he's not of God. Anyway, but she led us through this group meditation, and like we were offered a gift, and I visualized this ring being given to me. And I took that as like, oh, this is God's promise that he's going to bring me a man, bring me a husband, a spouse, and have faith, that's what I thought. So, yeah, anyway, I respectfully kept my distance from who I thought was my twin, because obviously he was married. And at the beginning, I thought, oh, we would message each other back and forth, but it felt more like, oh, we're here to help each other grow spiritually, like we're connected more spiritually, and we're just, here to help each other grow and learn and things. So we kind of share little tidbits back and forth, completely platonic, and but then when I started reading into the twin flame, then I started getting this idea of like, oh, yeah, like he is the only one for me. And I was convinced that not only was he the only one for me, he was the best thing, and of course I had really rough relationships, and I mean, I was getting to that point where I don't want to settle, I wanted the best, of course, but I came to realize recently it's just this pie in the sky illusion. and it's demonic. It's not God's person, okay? And I mean, it got crazy. Like, I would have meditation, I would meditate for a long time. I would think I'm speaking to him telepathically. I started hearing voices in my head, and, I was looking up about Kundalini rising, things like that. I had never had Kundalini rise on me, thank God. Like, that never happened, but I was researching it, and I'm like, I wanted it to happen at that time. And then also, I guess more of my spiritual gifts intuitive gifts started coming online. I mainly had more clairsentience. I could feel, but I'll tell you, it overcame me so much where if I was at a concert, I couldn't even handle it. I would get anxious. The energy would be too intense, too strong. Like, I became like a solitude. Like, I just stay in my house, let me meditate. I was too sensitive to go out into the world even. And it kept me waiting. And I believed through this twin flame BS that, that it was my fault, that it meant I wasn't in alignment. And this blog I was reading, it was like, it's not divine time, like God's timing, divine time. Well, she didn't even say God, said divine timing of when you will come together and unite. It is, you are control. I can control that. Like, I can control that by, working on myself, elevating my vibration, and visualizing and basically manifesting, which is against God, against the Bible. If you read the Bible, all of that manifestation is like me visualizing something to happen. And so this awakening just occurred to me, this realization, awareness of what I was actually doing just hit me about a month ago. Okay, and I'll tell you when I found out, well, first I want to talk about the ups and downs, the roller coaster ride. So, I gave him his space. I didn't contact him for a long time. We didn't even, but I would look on him on Facebook. I would constantly like, oh, what is he up to? Waiting to see, oh, is he going to break up with his wife? Like, oh, like when is it our time to come together? I was patiently waiting, but I was putting my life on hold. Like, obviously, I mean, I did date other people, thank goodness, but I still had that in the back of my mind. And my biggest fear was, what if I find somebody else, and I end up getting married, and then he's available and he comes along and then wants to be with me. And then what am I going to do? Because I can't, break the heart of my spouse. There's all these hypothetical, like seriously, like come down to earth, like all these hypothetical pie in the sky illusions, deceptions, okay, based on false. Again, I talked to the guy like 4 or 5 times, but I'll tell you, I felt it. Like, my heart just like expanded, and it felt good. Like, it felt closest to like love that I can explain, but it's not the real love. It's like artificial love. And I remember one time I was with a girlfriend. We went to a bar. We were doing karaoke, and I happened to know, my twin post on Facebook. He would sing karaoke too. So it was like we did have a lot of this stuff in common. And there was one guy that resembled him, actually looked like him, came up on stage and started singing that song from Beetlejuice. And like my heart just went, like it just opened and like crazy. And my friend, she's like, I felt that. Like, I felt that. What was that about, So it was crazy. Like I said, I was like having these conversations with him telepathically, and one time I thought I was talking to someone else, and I asked when their birthday was, and then I found out, oh, that's not their birthday. And then I was like, who the heck am I talking to? Like, so I was aware that I could be talking to anything, any demons, entities, things like that. I knew that, but I thought if I set an intention and, protected myself and directly, contacted whoever, it would be safe. But it's not. It's all demonic, every single bit of it. And at one point I was doing a meditation where the visualization was like to Metatron and to like surround yourself with Christ consciousness, overnight before you go to bed as protection. No, I did have a bad feeling about that. And then in I was part of the light workers group, all this stuff. I thought I was this light worker. Let me just reiterate to you guys, if you're not aware of the dark side, the ones that are child trafficking, human trafficking, and doing horrible things to human beings, the one who, lust, orgies, adrenochrome, all this stuff. First I was awake to that. Once you're aware of that, then you realize there is evil on this earth. Okay, that's an important realization. But I thought I was on the other spectrum fighting that evil. Well, guess what? There's a dark side and there's a light side. And so those who don't fall into drugs, alcohol, this and that, into those low, which I did have suicidal thoughts, by the way. So, anyways, but they catch you on the other side. They catch you on the light side. I'm still learning what exactly the deception and the traps are, but from my theory, my opinion right now, it's, again, to keep your head in the clouds and thinking that you are godlike and you can manipulate and control the outcome of what's happening in the world. And I know a lot of you who believe in this, it's going to be hard for you to hear because it was hard for me to hear, but you don't have that control. I'm sorry, only God does. And ultimately, my awakening, like the last month, was this isn't about us, the enlightened ones, the 144 that came here to bring in this new earth. No, the demons are using us. They're deceiving us, and they're using us as portals to create their version of this new earth, when in fact it's about saving your soul. It's about choosing a side. Are you with God and Jesus Christ, or are you not? I'm sorry, it boils down to the two sides. And I realize, like, all the Hinduism, those deities, all those, everything, in Buddhism, all those things, because I used to believe in those things. I used to think all paths lead to God, and, in that pluralistic view, that all paths lead to God. I didn't want to be forced on one specific path. Well, God let me have my freedom and explore everything else, and it just brought me back to Him. So I just pray that this video helps bring you back to Him and in your own timing. And I'll just share, like, some of those past lives that had an impression on me. Ones where I was a witch and I was persecuted by Christians. And I will say that my stepmom, I have family that are Baptist and Lutheran, and they were constantly talking to me about the Bible, and, kind of like, I felt like they were pushing it down my throat. And so that kind of had me rebel even more. And then on top of that, these impressions that were given to me that I was persecuted by the Christians. I had like a grudge. I had a grudge against some of the Christian believers. So it was a process. I'll tell you, it was a process. And finally, I think God had been trying to get me away from the whole twin flame idea and out of spirituality. And I think a lot of it had to do with my stepmom, who was Baptist, just praying her heart for me. And God bless her so much. I'm so thankful that she was praying for me throughout this entire time. But it got to the point where, I was ready to quit my job, do New Age stuff as my career, making money off of it, helping people. And I was going to do Reiki for a living. I was going to do this quantum healing. But there was always something kind of holding me back. There was always like, thank God, I was not really successful at it, because other people in the New Age industry, they call Satan their sugar daddy, and he was just like bringing them clients. I did find that once I started doing the quantum healing, I did find people just finding my website, contacting me, clients were coming, and it's just so ironic how this all came to a head. So and doing these practices, I feel like it did separate me from my family and from like normal humans. Like it went to my head. Like I'll be honest, I thought, like I said, I thought I was tapped into this hidden knowledge. I was this, I even thought I was a starseed from Andromeda, was a very ancient soul. So I had all this wisdom and all this stuff, but that put me up on a pedestal. And while I never cared about being famous or being rich or having anything like that, I sincerely always wanted to help people. It did go to my head, and because of that, it did separate me from a lot of loved ones, because I was in this total illusion world, and and fantasy world. So and God works, and so like I feel like He has been planning this for me, like in this process, because I remember hearing a song called "New Life" by Jim James, My Morning Jacket, and I would listen to that song and it would just make me cry. I would just cry. And at that time I thought the new life was in the new earth, like with my twin flame, or I thought that was a new life, and it really just choked me up all the time. But I always felt like I had this new life coming, and I had to like, purge a lot of stuff and start, new. And so I ended up moving to Colorado. I was in Chicago at the time. I moved to Colorado, and I happened to drive, and there was like a New Life street, and I looked, and there's a New Life church, and I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting, And so I did go to that church, and I'll tell you, 4 times something in me was like wanted to get up and leave. Like I had something in me like was like fighting, and it was like, no, like I almost got up and left like 4 times, but I was like, no, just stay. You're here to meet people and talk to people, at the end. And so that's interesting. So it's like I really wrestled. So I just say that because if you're wrestling about the idea of Christianity and Jesus Christ and things like that, like I totally get that. Like it's been a process, and I'm honest, like, I was just saved a couple days ago, and I do truly believe Jesus Christ is the only way, like the only way. And the thing is like, these things started to be planted. Oh my gosh, yeah, I would tell you that story. But so back to, I'm flip-flopping everywhere, I'm sorry. But back to the visualization I had with the ring. So a couple years later, and so I met my twin probably 6 years ago. So this went on for like 6 years. And I started to say that I was looking on his Facebook page, and, when I would see posts about I'm with the love of my life and stuff like that, I would just feel crushed, like a dagger like went into my heart. It was horrible. Like I'd feel horrible, and then I would go into this like disappointed depression, and like it's my fault, it's me, I'm not doing enough, I'm not good enough. When that's when because when it is truly someone sent from God, there's no troubles like that. There's no running, chasing, there's no, and there's no married, like God wants you to like be an adulteress? No way. Like, come on, like, but I just hung on to this illusion and this belief. And I'll have to say I'm not placing blame, but I was thinking back the other day, and it started as a kid. It started watching Disney movies, and all the magic that's happening in Disney movies. And even though it's white magic, it's not. It's all the same. Magic is magic, and it's, God forbids it. It's manipulation is what it is. It's manipulation for your own will rather than doing God's will. So as a kid, watching all the TV shows, watching the movies, and I would go out to nature, and I would feel comforted in nature, at that time. So I don't know. I feel like Satan is always trying to get children, and as early as he can. So, and it's funny, when I was little, I did pray. I did recite the Our Father. And I swore I saw Satan outside my window dressed in a hot dog. It's like a little hot dog when I was really little, but I do remember having a lot of nightmares. But anyway, what I kept thinking during this time and going back to was like, there was one time in church, it was a Catholic church, but I just felt this feeling inside my heart. Like I can't even explain it. It was like my heart was glowing with the love of God, and and then recently I kept thinking, oh my gosh, that feeling, I want to feel that again. Like, I'm doing all this spiritual stuff, but like, why aren't I feeling that good feeling? Like, I want to feel that again. And there was one other time I felt that feeling, and that was when my stepmom, the Baptist one, her mother prayed for me before she died, and she said some prayer. I don't know what it was. I have to find out exactly what the prayer was, but when she prayed over me, I felt it. Like I felt it in here. And so it's been hard for me to distinguish, because even the love that you send or give in New Age, like it feels expansive, it feels good, but there is definitely a difference between the true love of God and the true love of Jesus Christ. So it was, but my spirit yearned for that kind of love again. So ultimately, the twin flame journey did bring me to God, and so I'm really grateful for that. But like I said, there were like it was a roller coaster ride, and I remember I would get so disappointed because I'm like, when is it time? And I just kept waiting for my twin to come to me, and trying to manifest that. And one day I just got so fed up, and I like got angry, and I wrote him a letter, and I was like, I basically spilled the beans. I was like, look, I have these feelings for you, like they're strong, I don't know, but like I have to move on. Like either like we have to do this or I have to move on. So I basically gave him like an ultimatum, and we were going to meet at the festival, because again, we typically would see each other only once a year at those yoga festivals. And something happened when we were in the fest where, on the way there, I was always into signs, so I saw like this beautiful sunset on the way there, this and that, but I happened to get a flat tire, and so that I got a flat tire, I was stuck for a couple hours on the way there. And then when I got there, I started talking to a friend. It was later, it was after dark. I kind of sensed he was waiting for me, that because we were going to have this conversation. And I still don't know to this day, but I was really fearful of being rejected by him. And I thought for sure he was going to reject me. And I think so I didn't show up that night, and then the next day, I don't know, he was kind of cold to me, standoffish. So I don't know then if he felt like I rejected him or something. But anyway, maybe misunderstanding, but I'm really glad and blessed that we didn't talk and we didn't have that conversation. And then, yeah, he left like that weekend without saying goodbye, and we didn't even really talk. And I remember going to a shaman after that where he did some stuff, and I mean, I laughed during that and I cried, and I just was overwhelmed with this like sadness, and I cried the whole way home. And I'll tell you, I've never cried so hard in my life, like seriously so hard in my life. And then I was so sad, depressed, disappointed, and it just like, it's like this curse. So it's like this curse. So anyway, I think part of me moving to Colorado was strategic on God's part. It was like to get me away. I knew I had to like start over, start new, but there was something like I was still holding on with him, like still that possibility in the back of my mind of like, oh, maybe we can someday, And again, I was reading those emails, like manifesting, and like just a couple months ago, it turned out that him and his wife got in a huge fight, and I guess they separated. And during that time, I had gotten a Rider-Waite tarot deck, and I was using, I wasn't giving readings, I was just doing it for myself because I was following someone that does them on like current events and things like that. So I was doing it for myself, and then the message came through, and this is what woke me up. And because I started actually questioning Reiki. And I was just about, honestly, I was just about to go full-fledged doing New Age stuff for a living, doing the quantum healing. I just was about to get my level 2 certificate in training. I was going to hit the ground running. I just spent this time updating my website. I just bought a subscription to a third party where I could have my profile, where I could get clients. And yeah, talk about timing. And then I had this like awakening. Oh, before, I didn't even tell you though. Wait, before, one of the things, so about the ring visualization, I keep going back, sorry, I keep circling back. But I was with my boyfriend at the time, not my twin, obviously, my boyfriend at the time, and I was getting off the train, and I happened to find this diamond ring on the ground, and it was missing one stone, and I thought, oh, like I looked around, is this anybody's? And then I'm like, oh no, maybe it's a gift, it's a gift from spirit or whatever. And mind you, during the person I was following, talking about twin flames, there's a part where you do meditations, can communicate with their higher self, and you develop this relationship with their higher self, this invisible person. You think that is their higher self. No, it's a demon. And I'm glad I didn't really like get too deep into that. But yeah, so, and I swear, anyway, so I found this ring, and it was silver or platinum maybe, and I was like, oh my gosh, it looked like an engagement ring. And so I was excited. I'm like, oh, this is meant for me, And so I asked my boyfriend at the time, I'm like, hey, I found this ring, I don't know, what do you think it means? Like, should we get engaged? And like his response was like, oh, that's cool, oh nice. Like, it was not what I was looking for. So I was like, okay, that must not be from him then. Then that must be, that's like God telling me, like, hold on to my twin and blah, blah, blah. So yeah, I would like wear that ring. You guys, no, that like, I was basically then engaged to a demon. Seriously, I still have I got rid of all my new age stuff. I think I'm gonna sell that ring and I'm gonna give the money to the church. Yeah, no, forget that. I mean, I was wearing that ring from that a demon gave me or whatever. Like, it's so messed up. It's messed up. Yeah, and I mean, if you were watching this and you've been in the new age, you have to know demons and stuff are real. Like, I mean, I got attacked probably my first time was in like Myrtle Beach in South Carolina, and I was staying at a hotel. It was my birthday weekend, and I thought something followed me home. And I mean, that night I felt like I was being strapped down. I felt like my arms were shackled. I had this vision of who I thought the spirit was. And I knew I did open myself up to it though, because I was watching this paranormal TV shows. Like, I forgot who it was, one of the psychics who tells stories of like spirit hauntings and the truth, like about the soul and the spirit or whatever. And I remember saying, oh, I want to have one of those experiences. Like, I want to experience that. So I really called that upon myself. But I did have other where I did feel presence in the room, and there were times where I felt like I was held down one time and I couldn't even speak, I couldn't even talk until I screamed help, and then I was freed. But yeah, I mean, there are a lot of things going on when you get into that stuff as well. So, and yeah, a lot of dreams, and then also music, like songs. I would hear these songs and I was like, oh my gosh, like it would be totally fitting, like the lyrics in the song, it'd be like, oh, my twin is thinking about me, this is the message he has for me. It's really messed up stuff, man, really messed up. But like, you're not going crazy. It's like all these synchronicity stuff, but it's crazy how deceptive and how crafty the devil can be. And anyone will tell you he's not going to dress up like a bad guy and horns and stuff. He's going to dress up as an angel of light, and give you that false sense of love and that false feeling of feeling good, and also that false healing where you think something is healed but it's not. It's just temporary. Only God, through Jesus Christ, can heal permanently and fully heal. I believe that. So, but here I think I was like casting demons out myself, this and that. And so I'll just get to the point, I guess. So when I was doing the cards, and this, oh yeah, so here's another story. So this past December, so it's July now, so this past December, I was, before I moved to Colorado, it was like Christmas. I was going to be with my family. And again, these are the Christian, my Christian family. And I had gone on a hike, and yeah, I used to hug trees, talk to trees, like nature. That was the way I felt better. I needed to go into nature. The energy in Chicago and the city got so intense for me. I got so overwhelmed that I needed to get out into nature and things like that. So I, went on a hike, and then I came to this part where, these trees, and I was like, oh, I hugged the tree, and I was like, do you have any messages for me? And I heard it say, stay on the path. And it was like, stay on the path. And it was like, stay on the path. And then I was like, okay, any other messages? And it was like, stay on the path. And I was like, okay, got it, stay on the path, And So I was like, okay, stay on the path. I got it, stay on the path. Well, I think it was like 2 days later was when I went to be with my family for Christmas, and it was Christmas Eve. And God bless my sister, my one of my sisters. She started having this conversation with me, serious conversation about how she thought I was being deceived in this New Age stuff, and that she didn't believe in reincarnation. And it didn't really go over very well. I was very defensive. Yeah, very, defensive. I think I told her I was an earth angel. I was an angel sent from heaven or something. And yeah, and she started crying, and it was like, it was bad. Like it was bad. And I remember going upstairs to the room, and I kept, like, I was ready to leave. Like, I was like, forget this. Like, I'm out. Like, I'm leaving. Forget this. And I didn't get sleep that whole night on Christmas Eve, and I was just pissed. I was like, why is she bringing this up to me on Christmas Eve? You know what I mean? Like, come on, like. So I was pissed. And then the next morning, my stepmom had us, like, basically same conversation with me, but she approached it a little bit better. It was more of a conversation, and so she shared that her heart was really hurting, and they both. I thought it was fear-based. Like, I thought they were just, because she had been watching a lot of Doreen Virtue stuff, and so she was just, it was more fear-based for my sister, but with my stepmom, it was more like, no, I love you. Like, I love you. Like, I want you to know. And so I'm like, okay, and again, like, you got to be open-minded. Like, I'm open-minded. So, like I was saying, so I wanted the truth, you have to be open-minded. I wanted to know the truth, no matter if I believed it or not. And I started questioning, but interesting enough, remember the tree told me to stay on the path, stay on the path. Coincidentally, right before that happened. So now I know that was a demon telling me that. And it was like I was in a spiritual battle. Basically, God and the devil were fighting for my soul at that time. And so I started questioning Reiki. Like, it kept coming up, like, is Reiki, like, because I've done it, but I never felt like it actually healed anything. Like, I never had anything completely get healed from Reiki. And so I started questioning it and wondering. I kept asking God, like, tell me the truth about Reiki. Like, tell me the truth. And so I started doing these tarot cards and things. And that's when I started getting the message that any third-party thing, well, one, it's a way for them to make money, which was my first red flag. Was after I was attuned and Reiki or whatever to master level, and during the lockdown, during COVID, they had said the rule was you can't teach Reiki online. You have to go in person. But then after COVID happened, then all of a sudden that rule became, was obsolete, and now all of a sudden, pay more money, take this class, get certified, and now all of a sudden you can teach Reiki online. Now all of a sudden it's okay. You can teach Reiki online. I'm going to up-level your powers, your abilities, so that you can, attune people remotely online and this and that. Yeah, BS. And that was my first red flag. So I thought, like, okay, this is weird. They're, like, obviously they're making a lot of money off of this. So that was, like, always my thing, right? So the cards were telling me, like, don't go to any third party. I kept getting the Three of Pentacles. So, like, don't go to any third party. Like, go directly to God. And then I asked a question about Jesus, and I got something. And again, I don't know, for some reason, I know tarot is sorcery, witchcraft. I don't do it anymore. But I do believe that God was coming through with true messages for me during this, because he knew he could reach me through that method. And was just saying, like, don't go to any third party, come directly to me. And more so, these people, it's a distraction. They're, look over here, go, go to a naturopath, go to this, go to this. Like, everyone has a problem, right? They're looking for a solution. But I'll tell you, the only solution is God, is through Jesus Christ. Like, that is the one and only, like, solution. But there's all these distractions, diversions, trying to pull you off the path, lead you astray. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. And everyone wants to help other people, but guess what? Like, you can't. We're all human. The only person who can help you and help me is God. And we have to admit that. And not saying we don't help other people in certain ways, but yeah, it's like, go directly to God. And again, I was doing this quantum healing, which, you go into a past life regression, and then you channel this source that comes through to do healing. Well, I believed, the teacher said, anything could be healed. And I believed that. But now that I started reading the Bible, Jesus healed instantly. Jesus rebuked demons instantly. And it was permanent healing. And so it became clear these are all counterfeits. They're fake. They're false that you think. And plus, you're going through some source, through some channeling. Like, no. So it became clear, like, the universe, God created the universe, and source, if that's the sun, God created source. So it's like all these diversions to keep you away from the one and only true creator, who created everything. So it's like, let's go to the creation. Let's go to these other creations to, get inside and no, go straight to the creator, to God himself. So, yeah, it became clear, like, no third parties. So I'm like, okay, like, I'm only going directly to you, God. And then I was, like, still, like, torn. And then afterwards, I was driving, because I used to look for signs, like the numbers, obviously, on the clock, 111, 333, 555. But I would look at license plates, and literally when I went out, I looked up, and it said BIBL space go. And I was like, what? Bible go. And I was like, you're kidding me. And I just prayed to him. I poured my heart out, and I'm like, God, like, if you want me to go to the Bible, if you truly do, I will. If you're telling me that's the only way, I'll do it. I'll do it for you, Sorry, I'm getting emotional. I will do it for you. And if that is in fact the way you want me to go, at that point I surrendered, and I started to surrender. And then also the cards had told me that that basically, like, I was part of the reason my twin and his wife, separated. Like, I had a part in that. Like, I did part of that, and I felt horrible. I felt horrible. You would think I would be ecstatic, like, oh, maybe then now he's available and blah, blah, blah. No, I felt horrible. I felt like I did that. My manifesting ruined his life, like, manipulated. And I don't take full accountability. I know there were demons at play with that whole scenario. I don't even know what happened on his end, but I felt horrible because I had been advocating for that and pushing for that. And I just cried. I repented. I asked for forgiveness. And it became clear to me that that's against his will. Obviously, it's one-sided. And I didn't realize kind of the obsession that I started to have. Yeah, so that's where that's at. This is like all kind of recent. So I was really inspired to do this testimony because I was watching a lot of other people's testimonies, and I did do a prayer. I don't know if soul ties, it's not in the Bible, so I don't know if that is really a thing, but I mean, I've been praying to God and to Jesus, and to clear any demonic entities, because I mean, I was reading, there's, when you do all this new age stuff, you basically open up your chakras, you open it up and you create a portal for demons to come in. And yeah, and it's very destructive. Like I said, I spent more time feeling so sad and broken and hurt and suicidal in these new age years, and that's not how God wants you to be. No, God wants to give you the love, the love that you deserve through Him, and maybe a partner. And right now, I don't even care if He sends me a spouse or not. All, for the past 3 weeks, all I spend is getting right with God. That's all that mattered to me. Like, I don't even care. Nothing else mattered. And, amazingly enough, since I started praying and I did start reading the Bible, I mean, I fought it. It was hard. But, I finally was like, okay, if God wants me to do it, and what's the harm? I guess my fear was getting deceived again. Like, I've been so hurt, and deception is everywhere. And I was so angry and pissed that I fell for it. I got deceived. And so I don't want to get deceived again. If there's anything deceptive within Christianity, I didn't want to fall hook, line, and sinker for it again. So that was my hesitation. And I was honest with God about that. And He understands. And eventually, but then when I just first, and I would recommend Doreen Virtue, I mean, I watched a lot of her videos, and she recommended, I actually reached out to her on Instagram. She sent me a message and said she recommended, listening to the Bible as soon as possible and playing it out loud, so that the word fills, your home. And so I downloaded the ESV version on my phone, and there's an audio, so I would actually read and listen to it, and I'm still in the process of it. Obviously, it's going to take me a while to get through the whole Bible, but I had never actually read it myself. So, and when I first started reading, I'm like, oh, cool. Like, it drew me in. Like, this is a story. And this time I'm reading it, I'm not trying to analyze it and really figure it out. I'm just absorbing the word and allowing, to hear God's word. And yeah, and I immediately cleared everything out. I've been I got rid of all my crystals. I think I held on to three, three that I've never used for like conducting energy or anything, any kind of sorcery. I've just, well, one maybe I did, but it's just pretty. So now I have only a couple. I got rid of so many, threw it all in the garbage. I had a bunch of angel cards, all that stuff. Got rid of that. Even like, I have this painting that I always thought like represented my higher self. No, I think that can be a portal for demonic entities to come in. So, I'm getting rid of that. So, yeah, anything like that was my first step, getting rid of that and like clearing out darkness. And I will tell you, my cat, over these past few years, he had so many health issues. He had a heart murmur, he had hypothyroidism, arthritis, kidney disease, so much. And I would give him Reiki, and I heard God's voice tell me, watch him, look at his eyes. And ever since I started making this transition, he's been getting healthier. And I could see his eyes clearing up. And that was one of the things before this, was I had this fear of him dying. And I was convinced we had a past lifetime together, and me and my cat. And so, but like I said, the devil hooks on to those weaknesses. That was the sore spot, taking my cat away from me through death. And you start reading the Bible, Jesus woke people from the dead. He brought life into the death, into people who died. He healed people with one touch, casted demons out. That's where the all powerful is, through, Jesus Christ, who is the incarnation of God here on earth as a human being. So I say, get behind Jesus Christ, everybody. Yeah, get behind Jesus Christ. And I guess, I just want to say, like, if you're resistant, if you feel that inner struggle like I did, because it was a freaking struggle. And even now I'm like, whoa. So I have to be patient with myself. It's a process. Like, I'm just not going to be all gung-ho, about Jesus Christ and like be preaching it everywhere. It's a process, but I will say, just by reading the first 3 books of the New Testament, I would recommend starting in the First Testament, just listening to it. And, you don't have to subscribe to anything. You just, got to be willing to just read it for yourself, see for yourself. That's all. If you're really seeking truth and seeking healing. But I will say, I was watching a couple other videos, and obviously other testimonies inspired me, and God told me that He said, you're going to film a video tomorrow. And I was like, what? No. But I'm still distinguishing, because like I said, I would hear other voices too. So I really, have to distinguish now, like, is this truly God's voice I'm hearing? But I just constantly have been praying and praying for discernment. And, I did that prayer to cut any soul ties and clear any of those emotions I was feeling about my twin, once I realized it was a deceptive lie and it was not of God. And who knows how much longer I would have been waiting and just feeling disappointed and feeling depressed and like all this stuff. But as soon as this happened quick, I'm telling you, once I started listening to the Bible and I prayed for Jesus, through Jesus Christ, to clear all of these emotions and fill my heart with His love and His light, like, I felt 1,000% better. And I used to stare at the stars, look up at the stars, and feel so lonely and think, oh, my star family, my tribe is out there somewhere. And I would feel even so lonely and feel like I was so different. And once I started praying and reading the Bible, like, that all disappeared. I don't feel that way. It did feel bizarre, like, I'm like, oh, so I'm just a regular human now. I'm like, oh, I just gotta be like a regular person now. So that was weird. And it did feel like I had all this freedom of, like, all this freedom to seek God in whatever way I choose. And now I'm being forced to go. I felt like I was being constricted into this, like, box, being forced. But really, truly, that's not it, because I'm seeing now, like, with these new age practices, that's that hamster wheel. That's keeping you in the box. That's keeping you in depression, cycles of depression, where you maybe feel better, but then you fall back in, and it just keeps you in that cycle, where now I'm free from that. And now I've already had glimpses of what my new life, and now I know what my new life is, and it's my new life with Jesus Christ. And I've already gotten glimpses of how wonderful and how beautiful and how peaceful it is in His kingdom. And I'm just really grateful. I'm really grateful. And I learned a lot in the journey, and I repented, but I always had, like, a pure heart and pure intention. And I feel like I was really deceived. So I'm not very hard on myself about the past, even though I know I sinned, or, I know I'm a sinner, and but I repented, and truly from my heart. And you'll feel it too if you when you feel that. So on to my new life, Jesus Christ. And so I just pray Heavenly Father, I just pray for those watching this video who are on the precipice of coming to you, God. And I just hope and pray that this video gives, those with ears to hear, the insight that they need to help them, awaken and open their eyes to the deception of the twin flame journey and all of the other New Age practices and beliefs. And I just pray that, you fill everyone up with your love and bring everyone to you if it's your will, God. And I ask this through Jesus Christ. So there you have it. If you have any comments, please be nice. Please be nice to me. And I'm happy I was able to get vulnerable and share my story, true story, and hopefully, you can kind of like see parallels maybe in your journey and your transition. And wherever, it brings you. God bless. Thanks for listening.